they process a lot of it.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Doug Thies. I'm the founder of IT Leaders Louisville. We run this meeting in 3 different markets, soon to be 4. We're getting ready to start up in Denver as well. Who saw the total eclipse yesterday? Anybody? Anybody's eyesight permanently damaged? Yeah, I think my right eye is a little worse than my left eye. Those cheap sunglasses I bought just weren't enough. It was really cool. It took me 3.5 hours to get an 1.5 hour drive in from Indy to Louisville last night, so I knew the job was dangerous when I took it. I am glad you're here. I'm glad you're interested in working on your leadership skills. This meeting is for staff IT directors and managers. VPs and CIOs are always invited as well. I allow a couple of recruiters to come in. If you're in the sales business, this meeting isn't really for you, but if you've got direct reports, that's what we're focused on, is helping you be the best leader that you can be. Just as a reminder, most of us don't get much leadership training when we get promoted from individual contributors, right? You're a really good individual contributor. We're going to promote you now to something that you don't know what you're doing. That's what we're really that's why this meeting started 8 years ago, back in 2017, and it's still true today. There's not a market that I've been to that couldn't use some help, especially at that director and managerial level. Breakfast and networking, that's what we start with always from 8 to 8:30, and then a couple of guest speakers. We've got 2 good topics today, so I'm excited. Both are very people-oriented and really about how you interact with individuals, so super excited about that. Please take a couple of photos if you're a social media type, or if you'll just take a couple of photos for me and text those to me. That's my mobile number on screen there. If you want to take a picture of that, you can also use the hashtag ITLeadersLou to post that specifically. And there's also a LinkedIn company page called IT Leaders Louisville. So if you put an @ in front of IT Leaders Louisville, it will grab that, and everybody will be able to see what you posted. If you want to stay informed about this event, itleaders.org is the primary place that we post what's happening and what's going on. And then /Louisville for this event specifically. We had a cert problem yesterday. Imagine that, an IT firm who had SSL cert problems. So I think that's fixed this morning, but that's the best place to find out next meeting. The next meeting will be in June and will be posted by the end of the week, so you'll be able to see that. The LinkedIn company page, IT Leaders Louisville, is another good place. That's a place where we post from time to time articles on leadership, so you can get a little bit of extra information on how you can be the best leader you can be. Oops. And then we've got an IT Leaders community private group that you may join. That is comprised of all the markets, so that's for you to talk with each other, maybe about vendors or about a particular personal problem. No sales reps in there other than me, although I'm really not a sales rep anymore. That is really focused on you being able to communicate with your peers on any topic that you wish. There are a lot of other groups. We're big on cross-promotion at IT Leaders, and I wanted to give people who are involved with the other events an opportunity to speak up. Josh, you want to speak up about your group?
I help to run the Louisville Data Technology group here in Louisville. We meet the second Thursday every month. We also have a free full-day training happening this Saturday, and there's still room to register. We have speakers from Microsoft, consultancies, both local and abroad. It's at the U of L Shelbyhurst East Campus. You can register there at derbycitydatadays.com.
Who's the audience?
Anything from individual contributors in the data and AI space to upper management, executive.
Okay.
We have CIOs speaking at this group around how like AI impacts their data strategy. So it's kind of a mixed use group.
And will this link get them to the upcoming event?
It will. So it's posted to our meetup. That's the actual registration page.
Okay.
But then if you go to derbycitydatadays.com, you'll see the actual full day event.
Great, thank you. Other local groups, Rocket Women, Shannon Fear's group. She's the reason I got in touch with one of our speakers today, Laura Mattingly. She's got a couple of events coming up. If you want to take a picture of this, men are invited, by the way. It's not just for ladies, this group. I love Shannon's work. I think she does amazing work. I think being focused on the female IT professionals here locally is very powerful. We've got a similar group in Indy, but I actually think Shannon does a little bit better job of a wide variety of topics. So 2 events here if you want to check out what's going on. Rocketwomen.com is where she is. Lumug.org. Leah or Duran, do you want to speak about what's upcoming?
Hi everybody, I'm Leah. I work at Mirazon. We facilitate the Louisville Microsoft Users Group, and we meet the last Friday of every month. So if this group is more technically focused for infrastructure people, so if you've got an infrastructure team or people that really do a lot of the day-to-day stuff, this would probably be best for them. We do have CIOs, IT directors that come and get a lot out of it as well. Yeah. This month we are going to be talking about Copilot. So we have a Microsoft trainer coming to present about what it is, because it seems to be everywhere, and the security implications of it. So if you have people that are kind of wanting to learn more about that, go to lumug.org. You can register there. Just register so we can make sure we have lunch for you. It's free for you to attend.
And if you go to the events page on lumug.org, it's the top event. What's the pun again?
It's called Flight Plan.
Flight Plan for
Yes.
Copilot,
Yes.
Get it? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Let me make sure I didn't lose the other slide here. Okay, we record all these. As you can see, Eric, our videographer, is recording this event. And these videos of the event end-to-end are available on my company, Expedient's YouTube channel, youtube.com/expedient/videos. So if you have friends who might value the content that happened here today, or you'd like to peruse older events in all the markets, I think it's a great way to gather up the information. The videos are nice because you get to see the slides, if a person has slides along with those, and you can fast forward past the announcements and this part right now if you wish to. Also, let me cruise by these. We have started this year extracting the audio for the talks themselves out and making those available. So if you're a podcast listener, if you like listening in the car, you know, the more passive approach to this, then this link right here will lead you to the podcast on the podcast aggregator of your choice. So in about a week, Shane's talk and Laura's talk both will be available both on the video and on audio podcasts. IT Leaders is the name of the podcast. Okay, this is your part of the meeting. I mentioned to you that we invite some recruiters in to talk. We've got Tech Systems here. The name of your company again?
Yes, Smart Data.
Smart Data. We've had a number of different companies. It's not always easy to find a job, right? There's the want ads and there's career sections of websites, but oftentimes word of mouth is more effective. I want to start with anybody who's got open positions in their organization. Anybody who has that right now? Duran?
I'm with Leah of Mirazon. We are IT consulting, and we have 3 positions open. One is a systems engineer. We're looking for somebody that has experience with infrastructure, the ability to consult and actually talk to people and not just be behind a keyboard. We also have a virtualization engineer, which is kind of the same thing, but with a heavy focus on VMware and Hyper-V. And then we're also looking for a technical project manager, which despite its title, that person does not need to be technical. All 3 of those positions would need to be in, there's 4 positions?
Managed Services.
Managed Services has a position open for a team lead or manager of their department as well. I'm on the consulting services team, but that team needs a new leader, so thank you for reminding me. But yeah, if you can head over to mirazon.com/careers, you can see details about those positions.
Great. Anyone else who has open positions in their organization right now? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Heather Coleman here, Senior Technical Recruiter for Smart Data. We are based up in Dayton. We do have a remote culture, so if you know of anyone that is a full stack Java developer or full stack React.js.net developer, that typically is our wheelhouse throughout the year. So more than welcome to send them our direction to have a conversation. Again, remote friendly is our environment, so that can help people out that are in need of opportunities. Thank you so much.
Anyone else, open positions? Kellen Rollins, who's attended the meeting a couple of times, he is with PharmaCord up in Jeffersonville. He's got some open roles. He has a number of hybrid job postings that he asked me to mention. Development manager, product manager, scrum master, business analyst, and project manager. And these are hybrid positions, so if that's of interest to you, check out PharmaCord. Kellen, K-E-L-L-E-N, Rollins, R-O-L-L-I-N-S. If that's of interest to you, you can check him out on LinkedIn or go straight to the website and see what's available. So, super cool. Anyone who's in transition, who's looking for their next role, let's look at the other side of this coin. Go ahead, Corey.
Corey Pitts. I'm a Global Director of Enterprise Applications. My first time networking in Louisville. I've worked for companies Schneider Electric, Cummins, and Bridgestone. My last employer was SVP Worldwide, which was a sewing machine manufacturer. I've led large teams, digital transformation, applications like SAP, Oracle. So looking for a new opportunity.
Great. Anyone else? Anyone else looking for their next role? If you're looking for it quietly, you don't have to speak up. Okay, all right, thank you. If you like this group, spread the word. If you see value in meeting with other people who are in your role, who are working on their leadership journey, then I would encourage you to let people that you work with know, let people that you go to church with who are in IT know, and on the soccer field or wherever else your circles of influence are. It's important that this group includes a lot of people. I think the more we can help people along their leadership journey, the better it is for the individual contributors and for their direct reports. If I contact you to chat with you about this meeting and maybe take my call. I have a Calendly that I often send out, a Calendly link that you can actually schedule 15 or 30 minutes with me on my calendar quickly. It's painless. I've just got a couple of questions for you about the group and about what you're doing. We want to make sure that content is timely and appropriate, and that if you've got any input, that we hear it. All right, here are the upcoming events. June 11th is the next event. I'll talk about the speakers in a second. We're the second Tuesday of every other month. Okay? And this is on the website. This is on itleaders.org/Louisville. Now, the people who made this event happen, first of all, the local Centric Consulting team has been amazing at getting the word out over these last 18 months that we've been running this event. Centric's an amazing organization. We actually share a number of markets with Centric. Chris, do you want to talk about your practices, the 5 areas of focus that you have?
Certainly. We really blend our experts with yours, and we deliver a combination of business and IT consulting. So everything from project management, change management, strategy, organizational design, to AI, data, software application development, really full-scale consulting services. And while I have the floor, can I mention 2 upcoming events that we have real quickly? Okay, so one of them is on April the 11th at noon. Our cyber team is going to do a live hacking event, ethical hacking. with so full penetration testing. So that's going to be a really cool hour-long process to watch that. And then on, let me look at my date, April the 17th at noon, we'll have 2 of our Microsoft MVPs, including Josh Higginbotham, and we're doing a session on Microsoft Fabric, preparing your data for AI now and in the future. So we'll get an invitation out to this team, but we'd love to have you there.
Your leadership group to watch the hacking process in action, I think could be extraordinarily useful. We hear about all this. To see what actually goes on under the covers, I think could be really interesting. My company, Expedient, is the other underwriter of this event. We started this back in 2017 and have grown it. Expedient hired me to bring value to the community with no expectation of really anything in return. Our business is data centers and VMware Cloud. The VMware Cloud topic has gotten interesting with Broadcom's purchase of VMware. If that's on your mind these days, we'd be happy to chat with you about it. More importantly, being able to help you on your leadership journey and help you determine what next generation infrastructure might look like is what we're focused on. So happy to chat with you about that if you choose to listen. We're 15 data centers in 10 cities now. I keep forgetting to change that slide. Our closest one is in Indy, and that's where I'm from. Next event, June 11th, we have Sue Freeze from Humana. She's going to be speaking on effective communication with your direct reports, kind of the downward communication. And then Alex Perry from Practically Speaking is going to be speaking on strategies for effective communication up, the C-suite, talking upwards. So I think both of those topics will be super interesting. And have you ever heard the term speaking French to a French person? You know, it doesn't often pay to talk technical to a CFO. And likewise, it doesn't often pay to get really detailed with a COO or CEO. So understanding what language that person speaks can be very valuable in your success with the projects and the work that you do, and just overall making the company more effective. So again, 2 great topics. Today's speakers, we're going to start with Laura Mattingly from Humana. Laura's going to talk about rapport with an exercise today that we'll all be doing. And then Shane Rodabaugh is going to close us out with authenticity. We're going to be talking about authenticity. Laura, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Thank you. I'm very excited. I've seen some people I haven't seen in a while, so what a blessing that's been for me. My background is in IT. I started out as a developer and a database designer, and quickly moved into leadership. And then I've rotated and led in all areas of IT. So I wanted to share that with you just to give you a feel for my experience within the IT field and the different people I've led and the different teams I've led. I've led all different sizes of teams. I have relationships with team members, with my friends, with my family. And the activity that I'm going to do with you today not only will benefit you with your work relationships, but also your personal relationships. And when I've done this in the past, quite honestly, I have people give me feedback later that said they were so happy they were able to use it in their personal lives because it helped their relationships with friends, family, and children. So I hope you'll engage in this today and learn from it and be able to use it in your life. One of the things I will share with you is that I learned this through a program called Rapport, the actual name. Rapport takes people out into the desert near Area 51. It's a whole program you go through. This is a small part of that. There are many other things that I learned, but I didn't have time today to take you through all that, so we're going to do one. And today's topic on Rapport is around learning styles and the benefits of understanding people's learning styles and how you can use that to have them walk away from you going, you know, I really like that person. I'm not exactly sure why, but I like them. And it also teaches you how to argue better in case you ever need that in your personal life. Okay? So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. What I need for you to do is I need for you to pair up, and I need you to just take your chairs. It's 2 people. Face your partner. Okay? Whoever you want to pair up with, just pair up. I definitely need you facing each other. Okay, I think we're good to go. So yes, you're gonna do 3. I'll explain how that's gonna work. So what I need you to decide, first of all, I need you seated, not touching, but I need you seated knee to knee. Somebody needs to be A, somebody needs to be B. So decide that, then you're all space. Somebody's going to be C.
Okay.
So for the A's, you're going to go first. So I'm going to give you some things that you need to say to your partner who's B. B, your responsibility right now is to clearly observe your partner. I want you to watch everything about them as they answer, specifically focusing from shoulders up and really honing in on eye movement, okay? And when you're done, I need you to remember that, because at the end of the activity, we're going to use that information so everybody will understand what your learning style is, okay? And if you already know your learning style, that's great. You can help your partner understand theirs, okay? And then we're going to reverse it. Okay, is everybody ready? Ready. All right, A. I'm going to say a few words, and I want you looking at your partner, and I want you to tell them what these words mean to you. Now, mind you, through this activity, I'm going to cut you off at times, because I'm going to get what I need without you rambling on for 20 minutes, okay? So it'll be quick. All right, the first word, tell your partner what tree means to you. Next word, tell your partner what friendship means to you.
Give yourself.
Okay. Next word. Tell your partner what magic means to you. Okay. Next question for you to answer for your partner. Please tell your partner where you went on your last vacation and what that was like. Next question. What letter comes after the letter P in the alphabet? Okay. All right, last question for the A's. If you could create and imagine the perfect vacation, describe to your partner what that would look like for you. Good on that. All right. So A's, do you feel like you did a good job of observing your partner and you have some things in your head about your partner? I'm sorry, B's, yes. Did you observe for your partner? Okay, keep that in your mind. Okay, so now we're going to switch. All right. So this time I'm talking to the B's. All right, B's, tell your partner what the following word means to you. Desk. Okay. Next word. Tell your partner what the word dog means to you. Next word. Tell your partner what the word eclipse means to you. All right, next. Describe for your partner where you last went on vacation. Now answer the question, what comes after the letter F in the alphabet?
G.
Okay. Next, I want you to think of and imagine the most wonderful place on earth where you could go for a vacation and describe that to your partner. What would that look like?
I would say
Stop on that. Who over here in this group did not get to describe their perfect vacation? Well, no, we need to know your learning style too. So what I would like for you to do is describe for them look at them and tell them what your idea, if you could create the perfect vacation, what that would look like. All right, for the rest of you, you can come back to your normal seating position. Okay, you should be good. You should be good over here. Thank you for doing that. Okay, so do you feel like that you were able to observe the eye movements and the body movements and the language of your partner for that second round? All right, so now what I would like for you to do, here's how this works. There are 3 different learning styles. We all have all 3 of them in us, but most have a dominant one. And your dominant one is the one that's going to show up typically right away. And if you're even, you're going to see, and we'll get into that, you're going to see somebody who's got more even, you'll see that in their movements as well. So visual people, when they're answering questions, they look up to the left or right. Their eye movements go up, left, or right. That's a primary visual learner. Auditory learners, their auditory, their eyes go left or right, like over their ears. Okay? Kinesthetic people, their eyes go down, left or right. So visual means you learn by seeing, auditory means you learn by hearing, and kinesthetic means you learn by touch. Interestingly, in most school systems today, they still only teach 2 of the learning styles, which is visual and auditory. Most kinesthetic learners have to adjust to that and learn in those forms, which sometimes can be impactful. So now what I would like for you to do is to tell your partner, based on what you observed, what you believe their primary learning style is. So everybody exchange that. Is everybody good? Do we have anyone in the audience who your partner told you, I have no idea what your learning style is?
I'm kind of there because she looked me in the eye the entire time.
Okay. All right, well, I will get back to you towards the end. And we'll make sure she's very clear on what her learning is, what her primary is. She's probably very close, but there's other things about her that I've observed. Like when I'm watching you all, there's other things, and I'm going to share those with you. It's not just eye movement. Okay, first question. How many, if you're a visual learner, raise your hand? Okay, and I will tell you most of the times when I do this, there tend to be more visual learners in the audience. All right, auditory. Okay, and then kinesthetic. And that usually happens too, very few kinesthetics. And I knew that Frank was a kinesthetic learner. So.
Can you say again what kinesthetic means?
You learn by touch.
Okay.
Okay. So tell me when I had you answer the question, tell me about the last vacation you were on, and then I had you describe the perfect vacation. Can anyone share what their partner's eyes, do you remember what your partner's eyes did on those 2 questions? Like, let's take one of the visual people.
I was visual.
Yeah.
He's an auditory, so is that what you're sampling?
What I'm wanting to know is yes, because on one question, their eye movement goes one way. Now, for an auditory, it's either going to go left or right.
So his perfect vacation, he explained a castle in Germany, and he immediately darted to his right ear. Just immediately over. And then I thought that was interesting to pull your thought from there.
So that was the one he remembered, or one he was creating?
That was the one he was, the answers both. So he did that, he performed the eye dart to right on both questions.
On both, interesting. Okay, anybody else observe anything, a difference when they were answering the question?
Paul, when he was talking about something that he did, like his vacation, he didn't really look either way. But when I asked him to describe a perfect vacation, he did look to the right, his right.
Thank you, that's okay.
Yeah, Mike did the same things, like to the right and up.
Okay, so, not that I would ever want you to use this in any type of way, but this is what detectives often use. When you're recalling, your eye movement goes to the right. So visuals upright, auditory right, kinesthetic right. So if you're asking your kid or your significant other or somebody that works for you something that they did and they're sitting in front of you and they do a recall movement, they're recalling. They're not recall, they're creating the story. If they're doing the recall of an actual event, they're telling you the truth that they're going to go left. Okay?
Wait a minute.
So just a little.
They're making it up if they went to the right. So he's recalled his Germany thing. He's making it up.
That's why I like it. I'd have to do him again. Yes, I wasn't going to hone in on that.
It's all right, they're crazy now.
Okay, so here's some other tips for you that I want to share with you on learning styles. All right, first one. This is another way you can tell a person's learning style, around their posture. So visual people tend to stand straight with their head and their shoulders up. And they'll often sit that way too. Auditory people will have a telephone posture. Their head or their body will be tilted to the side, usually. And a lot of times they'll stand with their arms crossed. So they'll like to do this. So one time when I did this, when the person didn't know their learning style, I brought the person to the front of the room, and this person was agreeable. I didn't make them do that. And this person was full-blown auditory, okay? And I literally was talking to the person, and because I kept moving, so an auditory is going to keep moving with you because they want to keep their head. They always want to be at an angle. This person literally did like a 360 and didn't really realize that I had them do a 360 to prove that they were auditory because they kept turning towards me. Kinesthetic oftentimes have bowed heads, their shoulders down and curved, and they'll often tilt their body forward when they're taking in information. Okay. Breathing, visuals high in the chest, auditory is always like a full range, and kinesthetics are low in the abdomen. Voice, tone, speed, and volume. Visuals are high, clear, fast, and loud. Auditories, they're rhythmic, melodic, variable. And kinesthetics are low, airy, slow, and soft. Okay. All right, rules for looking at them when listening. Now, this is very important at work. And I use this a lot, especially if I'm meeting with new people or I get a new leader or whatever the case may be. So for visuals, because they look to listen, they want to take all of you in. So if you are interacting with a visual person, really one of the bad things that you can do is walk up on them and remove their full view of you. So I recently met someone who, because we had been on Zoom at first, I had figured out this person was visual. Then I met the person on site, and this person was seated behind a desk, and I came in, and so the chair, the guest chair was right there. Because I knew they were visual, instead of like plopping down right there where I'm like kind of right there, I took the chair and I pulled it back. And then I sat down. So I was giving that visual as much of me as I could in the moment because I knew they would be more comfortable talking to me that way. The auditories, they look away to listen. They have a hard time absorbing in if they're having to look straight at something and take in the information. And auditories, they will, look down, okay? So, not auditory, I'm sorry, kinesthetic. So one of the things that, I don't know if you all heard this before, I use it a lot, because I'm heavy kinesthetic. So I grew up hearing a lot, look at me when I'm talking to you. That is the worst thing you can do to a kinesthetic. And this applies to children. Everybody's born, like everybody comes into the world with a learning style. So if you're a visual, and you're interacting with a kinesthetic, that's a night and day difference, right? So you have to decide in the moment, am I going to extend the extra energy to build a rapport with this person and put myself in a situation where I may not be as comfortable, but I want the other person to be comfortable. And that's why this is valuable, right? If you know that, you can make the decision to interact with this person in a way that's in their learning style. Under stress, I like this one. This applies to home and work a lot. Visuals tend to be blamers. And they're probably all going, I'm not a blamer. But visuals tend to be blamers. Auditories are distractors. auditory are their distractors, and kinesthetics are placators by nature. And then eye elevation in relation to others. So the visual is going to typically have their eyes higher. Okay? So if they're looking, their eyes are going to be up. Auditories, their eyes are going to be going side to side. They're going to be looking around. And kinesthetics, again, they're going to be below. They're going to be down. And then gestures. So a visual, this is another way, if you're sitting in a room and you're getting ready to do a presentation, and you have the opportunity to observe your audience before you start, this is helpful too. Visuals will stare, they'll doodle, they'll rub their eyes. Their eyes will be focused, they'll gaze above their head to think or search for an answer. That's one of the obvious ones for me. Auditories, they'll finger tap, they'll whistle, they'll often lean in on their hands, and they'll turn away, oftentimes when they're trying to think of an answer to something. Kinesthetics, they'll pat their stomachs, fidget, they flush deeply, which I do, by the way. I flush very deep, I'll flush easily. They rely on their feelings for answers, and they'll move and rock a lot. So I think that's helpful too with the movements with anybody in your life. Spacing. Visuals, this is where I was saying they need to see the whole person. Auditory, they need to be close enough where they can hear you. And then kinesthetics will place themselves as close as possible. So if you were a visual and the kinesthetic wants to come up and hug you, that's always a problem, right? And that's one of the things I had to learn early in my career. I used to go around in the morning to my employees in the days when we had cubicles, hired cubicles, and I would go, good night, step in their cube, good morning. And little did I know that at the time that was awful for the visuals and auditory. So I stopped doing that once I learned that. Emotionally, this is the one that's good for home. So visuals will stare when they're angry, they cry easily, and they beam when they're happy. Auditories blow up verbally, and they'll soon calm down, and they express their feelings verbally. Kinesthetics will pound and slam doors when angry and then leave, and they hug and jump for joy when they're happy. So if you think about any moments where you've had some situations, it's pretty easy to tell what someone's learning style is. And for people who've learned to manage it, you'll see that a lot at work. Like if you've ever seen someone get upset at work, oftentimes people have been trained to manage themselves, okay? But if all the other things are at play and you're really observing the whole person, even if they try to cover that up, you'll be able to tell what their learning style is. Problem solving for a visual. They're deliberate, they plan in advance, they're organizers, and they write out their thoughts. Auditories like to talk out their problems, weigh the pros and cons, learn by verbal instruction. And kinesthetic, they are outrageous, they attack problems impulsively, and they learn by doing. So if you have someone on your team, and someone I'm mentoring has someone on his team, and they feel like she's having problems learning. She's not keeping the information. And so I taught him this. And I said, so when you have your next one-on-one with her, because she's new to the field, I said, I think it would be good for you to get her learning style, because it could be you're all trying to teach her in a learning style that's not her primary. And he came back to me, and he did know he figured it out, and they did adjust her learning and the way they're teaching her, and she's doing better. And she even told him she feels better about her role in taking in. And he never told her what he had done, but she just feels better. So that's a good thing. Appearance, I like this one, because this is one of my easier ways to pick people out. So visuals are neat, meticulous, tailored, and usually everything matches. Auditories, matching is not important at all. And then for kinesthetics, they like casuals, soft knits, and fabrics that feel good. And so that's usually, because people usually when they dress and they come, and especially if they're in a casual event, then you see their true style. And you can really spot, for me, visuals are the easiest to spot because they do match. And usually people are like, I really like that, your belt matches your shoes and your shirt, your tailored, the whole thing. Memory. Visuals remember faces, they forget names, and they take notes. Kinesthetics, auditory, remember names, forget faces, and they remember by auditory repetition. And kinesthetics, they remember best what was done, not what was seen or heard. And touching, visuals will touch their chin a lot, auditories will touch their ears, and kinesthetics will touch the other person or themselves. And that's, again, kinesthetics, we have to keep ourselves under control. So one of the things I want to share with you, to leave this with you, is a personal, so how it helps me in work, as you can imagine, if you take the time to master this, and you extend the energy, I'm telling you right now, it has helped my career. I feel like part of the success of my career is because I am able to do these types of things. It's important to me to learn how to interact with people and for them to have the best experience possible. Because if you do that, then your teams get engaged and they produce some really outstanding results for the company. But I'm gonna flip to the personal. My significant other is visual. And so there were times when I'd be leaving work, and this was done before the pandemic when I was going in every day. And I would get on the phone and call him. And I would start talking about stuff we're gonna do. I'm like, all right, we got invited to such and such for Saturday, we'll golf on Sunday, there's a ball game on Thursday. And when I would get home, I sensed that he was irritated. I almost sensed he was irritated on the phone a little bit at times, you know. And so once I figured this out, what I realized is trying to talk to him on the cell phone on the way home was not part of his learning style. So I altered my behavior, and now when I talk to him, I'm in front of him. And I'm telling you, it made a huge difference. So I just encourage you all to take all this in. I hope you'll take away and benefit from it, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
I should have went first, because now everybody's going to be going, is he leaning? Is he rubbing his eyes? I felt, she even said that while they're back there preparing. I wasn't actually sizing up the room, but I was sitting back there running through everything in my head, and then she made me pause for a second. Am I auditory? And I started checking off all the boxes, and then forgot what I was going to say when I got here. Okay, so we're going to talk about how authentic are you today? This is more about talking about an individual skill as a leader. So a little bit about me. I worked for Baptist Health, been there for 11 years. My boss reminded me of that yesterday. I didn't realize it was my work anniversary. Prior to that, spent a couple years at GE. Prior to that, I was almost 15 years here at Yum Brands. And then before that, I was at UPS. And ironically, the people that I've worked with are all sitting in this room for my entire 30-year IT career. So, yeah, there's a little nugget of information for you today. Other than that, I've got, I love working in IT. I really love working in healthcare. So what I'm not going to do is I won't go through the system overview slides, but I did add a couple so that you can know a little bit about Baptist. You guys can look at those later. I won't dig into all that. We're just under a $4 billion organization, so we are pretty large. We cover all of Kentucky for the most part, and we get into Indiana, and we've got some offices in Illinois and Tennessee. So you guys can look at that. You guys can look at that later. This is my favorite slide out of all of them. It shows all the 9 hospitals that we have across the system. So here's our touch points. We'll talk about what authentic leadership is. We'll talk about why it's important and how we can be more authentic. So getting back to why I think we need to focus in on one thing at a time, I'm not an expert in any part of leadership. Don't look at myself that way, never have. What I always try to do is I try to find one thing that I can continue to hone. These are diminishable skills. They always are. Just when you think you're good at something, then you realize, wait a minute, this has fallen off. What happened? There's nothing we're going to talk about today that you all don't already know. That's a fact. That's a lot of the soft skill training that we talk about as leaders. There's a lot of things you're like, yeah, I knew that. Well, that was common sense. So we'll talk about that. But just know, I'm not an expert with this. Never have been, never will. I just try to get better every day. My mom had a little plaque on the wall. We lived in a trailer. I'm actually from Indiana. Purdue lost last night. What happened? Very upset about that. It must have been that drive back. But anyways, my mom had a plaque hanging on the wall that said, "Please be patient. God isn't finished with me yet." And I don't think that's actually ever going to happen because he made me on a Friday, took all the bits and parts and pieces left over, and this is what you get. So I'm like baloney, right? Okay, so let's dig in. What's authentic leadership? And this is all about what you think it is, right? So when you think about authentic leadership, you think about honesty, somebody who's honest, somebody who's got a lot of integrity, somebody who's transparent. You can always have somebody who's like overly transparent, right? Maybe shares too much, maybe shares too little. I'd rather have somebody that shares too much than not enough. So you got that balance. Then you've got character. So with character, you've got 3 of the 4 dimensions of character that apply to authentic leadership. So what are some of those dimensions? Authenticity is one of them. Part of authenticity is vulnerability. When you all think of vulnerability, do you think of weakness? If I'm with my team, I'm going to be vulnerable with my team. You think, hey, is that a sign of weakness? No, it's a sign of courage. Teams appreciate that. So you want to try to be vulnerable with them. It feeds the authenticity. It feeds trust within the team, right? How about, I put something up here with Harvard Business Review, but it was for something else, and I actually tripped across something else. They did a study on 250 CEOs, and it could really be any chief that they could assess within an organization. And out of the 250 CEOs, they did a survey. If you're Baptist, it's Glint surveys probably. But they did an assessment with the people to find out what's the number 1 or number 2 attribute that they would want the most out of their leader. Authenticity is that attribute. They want somebody who's real, not somebody who's fake. Okay? So the second dimension, self-management. You think about emotions. Do they walk the talk with their emotions? Are their emotions always in check? We kind of heard a little bit about that with Laura. She was touching a little bit on that as we were moving along. Do your actions match your words? Are you walking the talk? I steal that from Yum. I had this a little bit further down, but Yum had a Yum University here. I don't know what they have now, but they had Yum University here, and it was amazing from a leadership training standpoint. And walk the talk was a big thing that they pushed. They had walk the talk cards. You saw somebody walking the talk, you would write them a walk the talk card and say, hey, I saw you doing this. And it was very, very impressive. So walking the talk, when you're thinking about how I'm doing self-management, I can stand up here and talk about it all day long, but if I'm not walking that talk, dings you pretty good. Humility. Are you a humble person? Well, I'm not always a humble person. Try to be a humble person. But there's something that goes with a level of humility. When you all came here, you saw what the agenda was, right? You come here and you kind of look at what's going to be taught today, and you think, well, am I teachable? You ask your question to yourself, am I teachable? If you're looking at what's on the agenda, if you didn't think you were teachable, you wouldn't be here today. And being teachable can either be, I'm going to listen to the speakers presenting some topics, I'm going to network with somebody, but I'm just going to take one thing away. So you're humble enough to say, I'm teachable. That's a good sign of a leader. Genuinely valuing others' opinions and perspectives and being able to talk through it's a superpower. What I didn't write down was who said that, and that was not bad. So how does Harvard Business Review, how do they define authentic leadership? It's a style that's exhibited by individuals who have high standards of integrity. They take responsibility for their actions, and they make decisions based on principle rather than short-term success. There's a lot to unpack there. I had to read it twice. It's a style exhibited by individuals who have high integrity. We beat that dead horse already. They take responsibility for their actions. I own it. I own it. I always own it. So whatever my team does, I'm owning it, right? and make decisions based on principle rather than short-term success. So it's about the principle of the matter. It's the long game, right? It's not the short. One other thing I caught, there was a Becker's article over the weekend. If you're in healthcare, you may or may not have read it, but the title of it that had caught my attention was When to Lead Firmly in the Era of Soft CEOs. You're probably thinking, they're weak. No. Soft, they're squishy, right? A lot like this topic. This topic is kind of squishy, right? We're working on our soft skills. Can a CEO listen and be listened to? Can they wield a soft heart and a firm hand? Dennis Poland, president and CEO of Marlton, New Jersey-based Virtua Health, thinks the answer is yes. Am I demanding? Absolutely. But I don't believe in this commander kind of disposition, he said. I believe in holding people accountable, but I like authenticity in terms of showing up with a willingness to be vulnerable and to hear ideas that might contradict my own. What I love about what he said was, may even be talking about a different topic, but he's talking about that authenticity going into a meeting. Doesn't matter what it is that we're talking about, and you want to go in, you may have your mind made up on something, but you're listening to understand, right? UPS term. Remember that one? That goes back to the 90s. You're listening to understand others so that, hey, I may change my perspective on it. And you're keeping the team engaged that way because they're just not going to come and just clam up and go, well, it's whatever Shane said, that must be the way that it goes, right? Okay. I don't know where my time is. Okay, authentic leaders. I know you guys can't really hardly see that, right? But these are a couple people that I perceive as authentic leaders, but you decide, right? So this is Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy, I love him. He coached the Colts. I'm an Indiana boy. Don't hold that against me. But I am an Indiana boy. He coached the Colts, started following him. I listened to him speak a couple times on the internet. He has written multiple great books, Quiet Strength, and then he did a Quiet Strength men's Bible study. Now, the crazy thing about Mr. Dungy is he said he got more reward out of writing those books and helping other people grow than he did winning a Super Bowl. That's pretty powerful. The other thing that he said was, a team with soul will accomplish far more than a team that doesn't. He's the real deal. I would love to see him speak in person. Haven't done that yet. Mr. Novak, this guy right here, he was CEO when I was here, working for Yum Brands. Did I know the guy personally? No. Would he remember me? No. Not at all. I was just a guy working in IT. But he had a passion. I'm a passionate guy. I'm passionate about a lot of things. I share that attribute with him. He was really big on recognition. He was almost crazy, to the point of crazy on recognition. But love him or hate him, the guy, he had a heart of gold when it came to that kind of stuff. I was doing some work for him in his house in a different state. And we were putting in video conferencing equipment for him. I heard him talking to a restaurant manager. This guy's a global CEO, and he's talking to a restaurant manager like it's one of his vice presidents or another chief. Spent 30 minutes with this guy, coaching and mentoring him. And I'm like, holy crap, the guy's the real deal. Today, he has a series of podcasts on leadership. If you don't follow him, I'd encourage you to do so. He has a ton of people that comes on his shows all the time. He's great to listen to. Mr. Kelsey, we have any U of L fans in here? Okay, great. I'm a Blue House. So even though I'm from Indiana, we are UK apparently. The next time I speak, I'm going to have to put a slot over here for whoever our new coach is going to be. Don't know. Of course, that's not confirmed. But, okay, so Mr. Kelsey, you're probably going, why is he up there for authentic leaders? Well, he impressed me. His charisma, everything about him was hitting some notes with me. The proof's in the pudding. We haven't seen him do anything yet, but I'm loving what I'm seeing with this guy. Okay? He's bringing something different than what I've seen before. You could argue that about anybody else. But All I'm saying is I like what I see so far. Okay, who goes right here? The waders and the canoe. It's not a person. No, I don't think that's an authentic leader. But if you have a government official that you believe is an authentic leader, you better put the waders on and you better get in the canoe because they're so full of BS, you're going to need the BS meter, right? You've got to have a meter. But there are a lot of government officials that are great. They're authentic. I agree. But I needed something to kind of capture them because I always struggle to see how authentic they truly are because they're always got an agenda, right? We don't know what that is, but they always have an agenda. The only thing I want you to take away from this slide is it's all perception. You perceive these leaders. When we as leaders are trying to be more authentic, we have to build the perception up. It's a culture within the team that has to happen, and that takes a lot of time for us to go through. One thing I want to touch on, John Maxwell, he's another person that I follow a lot. I'm sure you all have heard about him. When we think about authenticity, how does that fit into the 5 different levels of leadership, right? So real quick on the 5 different levels, level 1's position, people follow because they have to, right? So if you have a supervisor or manager put in position, hey, you got to follow this person because that's your new boss, right? Level 2's permission. Permission is they follow because they want to. So you've built yourself up to now people want to follow you. So it's a permission granted. Level 3's production. So in production, you produce, you gain credibility with your team. Level 4, people development level. Wish I was there, right? But people development level, key is in recruitment. So you can recruit with the best of them. You get people in the right seat of the bus. So you can kind of see how this is building on top of each other. And then the pinnacle is level 5. It's respect. You just have respect. People are just going to come in. I hope by the time I retire, I get that, but I don't know. Hopefully that'll hit. Where does authenticity land in this? It's at the permission level. If you can get the team to see how authentic you are, it builds that trust, then you hit the permission. Make sense? Okay, so building a culture of authenticity. Oh, did I skip one? No, I didn't. Okay, sorry. All right. How can I be more authentic? Can I take a pill to do it? There seems to be a lot of pills out there right now. There's the anxiety pill, the depression pill, the weight loss pill. That seems to be the great one right now. There's a lot of pills. You can't take a pill for this. You can't take a pill to help you become a better leader. It's not going to happen. It's not going to be the slow release pill. It's not going to be the slow anything pill. What I can guarantee you is slow is building yourself up to hit these. You have to be consistent. You can't be doing one thing this week and then, I'm going to do a different decision the next week. If you do that, the team's going to go, man, what day of the week is it? What side of the bed did Shane get up on, right? We sometimes feel that way about our organizations, right? We don't know what our organization's doing. We may not understand the strategy. So what day, what week is it? What are they going to do this time? When you start having that, it jolts the trust, right? We as leaders, it affects our authenticity. So we have to be consistent in everything that we do. It's a trust accelerator. So if we're authentic, we're going to get there. Self-awareness is the biggie. Self-awareness, there's a lot with self-awareness that we have to make sure that we're hitting on. Walking the talk on everything, right? Everybody's watching you. So let's just think about that for a second. If you were to ask any one of my team, which, Jeff's here, Todd's here, my directors. None of my directors are here, but if they were, and you were to ask them, did I walk the talk 2 weeks ago? No. I had a director's meeting, had a bad day, and a couple things set me off. I didn't take my pill beforehand, and I popped off. I was pissed. Pardon my French. And Yeah, that resulted in me apologizing to the team. Now, here's what I can't do. I can't apologize today and then turn around the next week and lose my crap again, right? I have to apologize and then course correct. It's much like, I'm not Catholic, but you know, you don't go to confession and say, well, Father, you know, forgive me for I have sinned, only to turn right around, walk out the door, and go do it again. That defeats the whole purpose, right? So you have to keep that self-awareness way high, and it's something that has to be constantly on your mind. Respected versus being liked. Throughout my career and being a leader, and it started with being a manager, I wanted to be respected and liked. If you were to ask me today, even in the position that I have today, I want to be respected and liked. The one thing I want to remind you is the higher up you get and the broader your responsibilities are, the like goes over here and you have to lean into respect. You're not going to be liked. You can't do everything to be liked. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. Be real. It's not deep, it's just simple. Think about when you are recognizing your team, you got to make sure you don't mess this part up as a leader. When you're recognizing the team, make sure you're recognizing that big thing, not that little thing or the wrong person, right? So you want to go embellish the team because you're like, hey, I'm a leader, I'm going to recognize them. And then you recognize somebody who only did something that took like 2 hours to do, where you had a team over here spent 4 months on something and you didn't embellish them and the amount of work that went into that. Make it count, right? All right. The other thing about being real, I think I said this already too, mistakes and weaknesses, just admit to it. That's part of your, you're being vulnerable. If the team jacks something, just own it. Own it. That'll take your authenticity to the next level. Okay, so we talked about the culture side of this. It's the culture of authenticity is built by values. They're not conditional. They don't change because of circumstances. So don't let the values start spinning around. You can add values to your list, but don't let that sway anything. If the culture doesn't catch on, you want to look inside. You can't necessarily set culture for an organization, but you have a team. I don't care if you're managing a team of 3 or you're managing a team of 50 or a team of 100. You can help drive that culture within your own teams. So my advice to you is continue to build that within your own group. Culture for an organization, that's the chiefs, right? The CEOs and all them, they can figure out what they want from that. But you can build the culture within your own teams. Back to the development side, when you think about your leadership styles or your listening styles or your communication styles, you have to be you. You can't go, man, you know what? I see this Tony Dungy, I see this other person over here, and I want to be that leader. No, you have to be you. It's okay to take pieces and bits and parts of them and add that to you, but you're always going to have to be you. And if you're not following someone you admire, you probably need to take a look at your list and course correct that. People will buy into you before they buy into your vision. So when you're talking about trying to build a culture, you need authenticity, you need trust so that people buy into you. Once they're buying into you, they're going to latch onto your vision. All of these things connect. It's like the spinal cord, right? Culture is a hot button in all this. I think I beat the dead horse onto that. It is truly the foundation concept of this. Anybody have any questions?
I haven't raised this question in a long time yet, so I'm just gonna say it.
how do you balance authenticity with balancing when to be authentic versus in those low moments sharing too much, right? Like staying even enough for your team to not feel like there's, they're riding a roller coaster.
That's a really good question. So the one, is there a right or wrong answer? I don't think so. That's part of reading the room, right? Do you know the person? Do you know their leadership style that they need? You probably want to know that, much like their communication style. Do you know their leadership style? Do you know the people that you're leading? If you don't, that's okay. Hopefully they're on video or in person and you can start reading their body language. But the vulnerability side, sharing too much, if in your mind you're thinking, hey, that's probably sketchy and I probably shouldn't, don't. That's what I would say to that. Who else?
Not a question, so much as a comment. Sometimes I think we try to be authentic in order to get approval from others to tell us, hey, that was authentic what you just did. And so, but the thing I did is 2 years ago, I was sharing something with my team, and one of the owners of the company said, I think you shared too much about this personal situation of yours. And I'm like, oh wow, and I felt kind of bad. And then 2 years later, the person said, hey, that thing you shared 2 years ago really resonated with me, and this is what I changed in my life because of that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think my point I'm trying to make is that when you're being authentic, don't worry about do other people think you're being authentic or getting their approval on how just as you said, just do you, right? So
You just do you. So when you're being authentic, I need to walk that talk with the people below me, my peers, and up. So if I'm in a department meeting and there's people here that I work with, I try to be engaging like I am here today. I try to be an authentic person. I don't have an agenda today. I don't want anything from you all. It's just sharing, hey, this is how I drill into one topic, share it with you, and if you walk away with one thing, great. But yeah, different styles for different people. But yeah, that's a good point. Anything else? All right.
Shane?
Yeah.
I think one thing that's helpful with authenticity is when we are aiming at a goal, it matters a lot less what people think about us, and as long as we don't think too highly of ourselves, and we see, here's the goal, how do we get there, and we invite everyone to come on board, that's authentic. That's just like, hey, we're all in this together. How do we get from point A to point B? And a lot of people feel buy-in, and it's just that mindset of,
It is.
we're all together in this, and that kind of builds a level of
Yeah.
authenticity. Yeah.
Anything else? Doug.
Shane, thank you. Laura talked about communicating with others. Shane talked about communicating and being real with yourself. These are great topics. I'm real pleased with the group today and the topics that we covered. I think that next meeting is going to be equally as good, talking up and talking down, communicating with your leaders and communicating with your direct reports. These are all important skills. So glad you're here to learn about your leadership skills and to work to improve them. My company is still looking for a data center here in Louisville. If that's of interest to you, if you know a corporate data center that might be a good fit, I'd love to chat with you. I'll be reaching out to you in the next couple of weeks. Thanks for coming. Have a great day.